setting up that 150 horsepower Lycoming engine. And right beside us here, we'll have a liftoff. 40 miles an hour.
This one is one of the youngest. We haven't named these guys yet. This one's about, they're almost 3 weeks old. Just starting to get their legs underneath them. Yesterday they weren't walking around at all, but today, well, he was walking around a little earlier. They're just getting confidence right now, and I can see these guys got their legs around them. This is Benny and June right here. They're about 3 months old, and they're all over the place.
Yeah, well, they probably don't remember when they were trying to figure out what their legs are for, but now this is real progress here. Look,
right here.
He's on his legs, he's walking around, kind of sniffing and learning the world, and that's the way you train them, right?
That's exactly it. We want to push them a little bit farther, a little more confidence so that they get a little more brave every single day.
That's great. I mean, that's great progress. Now, he's going to try to sniff that log and get over it. You going to help him then?
That's right. When they start getting to these obstacles, we try and help them over the top so that, as they grow stronger, they'll go over it themselves.
That is an amazing look at somebody learning the world. Of course, now these little guys, Benny and June, they've actually been out on longer puppy walks, haven't they?
They have. Once they get too old, or, once the inside the yard here gets boring for them, we stretch them a little bit farther. We'll take them on longer puppy walks with the older adult leaders. We'll let them go running far away from us. Then we're able to call those adult leaders back. These guys follow everything those older dogs do, and therefore they learn our commands, and our voice is really important to them.
Well, of course, the older dogs are kind of sniffing, and they're getting to know each other. And I would guess then that because they spend so much time with the older dogs, everybody follows everybody. When you put a harness on them and they're in a line and they're pulling the sled, it's not that big a deal.
That's exactly right. They just want to do what these adult dogs do. We'll purposely put the young dogs out front and we'll just hook up and go out. So they already kind of know in their head what they're supposed to do. It's amazing how those older dogs are huge teachers for us for the younger dogs.
Well, this is...
The women and children and grandmas and grandpas are cutting them up. But when it is not legal to fish, you shut that thing down. And the salmon swim right by it unmolested, and that way we don't run out of salmon. And today the salmon are counted as they come in the Yukon River. They trip a sonar beam, and a computer counts them as they come in from the ocean, so we always know how many are coming. So we're going to find out what happens during the slack time, too, as we now return to fish camp. And the fish wheel is turning, and I'm very honored to be able to introduce you to another remarkable young native Alaskan, and her name is Haley. Haley Nandadonja.
Hi, hello. Like Jane just said, my name is Haley, and I'm Yupik Eskimo. My family comes from the village of McGrath, which is located in southwest Alaska along the Kuskokwim River. Every summer, my family would travel to fish camps very similar to the one that you can see here. And this is where my mother learned traditional skills that she passed down to my sister and I.
Well, now, you, of course, have seen a number of fish camps. How does this one compare? Is it pretty authentic in your view?
Yes, this is very typical of how a fish camp would look along the Yukon or the Kuskokwim River. Right in front of me in the water is the fish wheel, and this was the main focus of fish camp. This is where all of the salmon was harvested. Next to me on my right are 2 drying racks. The one on the front is left open, and the one in the back is just covered for a rainy day. And that's where we would hang the salmon to let it drip dry. Directly behind me, the permanent structure is the smokehouse, and that's where the salmon would be fully cooked. Next to that is a structure up on stilts, and that's called a cache, and it was used for storage. Over here in the camp, you can also see these white tents, and these are called canvas wall tents. This is what we would stay in while we were at fish camp. They're very cozy. You can build a fire right inside if it gets a little bit chilly at nighttime. Also around the perimeter of the camp, you can see those small wooden boxes, and those are dog boxes. We always brought our dogs to fish camp and placed them around the perimeter of the campsite to act as an alarm system.
Well, of course, the family would really live out here during the entire salmon season, but you never knew when the wheel was going to be locked down. Now, when you weren't catching salmon, was everybody bored, or what went on during the slack periods?
Oh no, we were never bored at fish camp. During the downtime, our elders would be teaching us traditional skills. The young boys would be learning how to make fish reels, like the one here in the water, and hunting techniques. And young girls like myself would be learning skin sewing and beadwork.
Of course, now we'll see examples of that on the tour. You also, of course, learned to process the salmon, so can you talk us through how to take this guy apart?
Yes. In front of me I have a chum salmon, which is a lower quality salmon that runs twice in one season. So we like to feed it to the dogs. And the dog food cut is the first cut you learn. You learn it when you're about 6 years old. I started this by simply cutting all of the fins off of the fish. Then I cut along the backbone on both sides, leaving the head and the two fillets connected at the tail. The next thing I want to do is simply cut the backbone of the fish free from those two fillets. And we never wasted anything. So this fish head is actually going to go back here in a stew for the dogs, just because this is a chum salmon, which is low quality. But if this was a king or a silver, we would make fish head soup for it and feed it to our elders.
Oh, now I just officially became an elder last year, so I'm kind of interested in fish head soup. What's that taste like?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not old enough.
I guess I'm on my own then. I can hardly wait. Well, now what's the next step here in the fillet process?
The next thing I want to do is score the salmon. I'm just cutting deep down into the flesh of the fish. And that's so that when I hang it over here on the air drying rack, it'll open up and have a lot more surface area, and it'll dry out a lot quicker.
Here comes a good picture now if you have your camera ready. See how gravity opens that up and completely creates more surface area, so it very quickly dries without chemical or refrigerant or any artificial means. And that's a good-looking dog cut, Haley. Now, do you go right in the smoke with that guy?
Oh no, we never like to put a wet, drippy salmon directly into the smokehouse. I'm going to hang it over here on the drying rack. And on a day like today, it'll probably need to hang there for a couple hours. The next thing that I want to do with the salmon is rotate it into the smokehouse. And we'll rotate it all around the smokehouse for about 2 weeks until it's fully dehydrated. And then it looks like this. And it only weighs about 1 pound, so it's very easy to carry along on the dog sled.
Lightweight, but you don't lose any nutrition, and it's an amazing system. Now, of course, you do it a little differently for salmon that you pick for your brothers and sisters and your family. How does it differ?
For ourselves, we like to use a higher quality salmon, like the king or the sockeye. We also like to put a brine on the salmon before we smoke it. My grandma used to use brown sugar, honey, and salt. We'll also cut the salmon into strips like these ones, instead of those larger fillets. And then when we put it in the smokehouse, we like to use alder wood to smoke it, because that gives it a nice sweet taste. For the dog food, we'll just use a driftwood or a spruce wood. They're not too picky.
Oh, no, they're not, but they're grateful. And we are grateful to you, young lady. This has been a great presentation. Now, what's ahead as we get off the boat here for a little while?
Well, the guides that you met on board the boat will be taking you around the village here to 3 different stops where you'll be learning about the Athabascan culture. I'll be at one of those stops, and I'll be showing some beautiful garments.
We will look forward to that. And Haley is a future elementary educator. She's going to study elementary ed at our university, and let's give her a big hand. She did a great job this morning. Haley,